Hi. What is up, YouTube? It is your boy J Matt here, and it is that time of the year. Merry Christmas! Welcome to the final part of this three-part series. We are going to do the playoff predictions of my NHL season. It has been a long three-part series, I understand, and I somewhat apologize for that, but at the same time, I'm very proud of what I've been producing for you guys. My latest video you guys have really liked, and I really do appreciate that, guys. Please keep up the support and love. I greatly appreciate it. It means the world to me. But we are going to get finally underway with my playoff predictions. We are going to be going series by series, conference by conference, and Stanley Cup final, and who will be the Stanley Cup winner in my predictions. We are going to start off with the Eastern Conference, and my first Eastern Conference matchup, we have the Florida Panthers versus the Washington Capitals. This is actually a very surprising series. This is actually a rematch from a couple years ago, I believe, from 2022, and again, this is actually going to be a very competitive series, I believe, because we have the veteran in Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals versus, obviously, the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Florida Panthers and Matthew Tkachuk, obviously, Sam Bennett. You got a lot of players on that team. You got a lot of studs. You got a lot of good players. Sergei Bobrovsky is going to carry them far again. This is going to be a very back and forth, I think, high-scoring series. This is going to be a very high-scoring series, and I think that this series will be a little lopsided, unfortunately, towards the Panthers. The Panthers, I believe, are more hungry. They want to repeat, and I believe the Washington Capitals are just a little bit slower, obviously, compared to the Florida Panthers, and because of that, I do have the Florida Panthers moving on to the second round in the Eastern Conference in 5 games. I do see the Capitals maybe stealing a game or two, maybe, but again, this is going to be a very fun series to watch, I believe, as far as high scoring, but it will be lopsided towards the Panthers. I do see them basically dominating this series as far as when it comes to more of the not only goaltending, but I think, again, the high scoring side, because they're faster, they're younger compared to, yes, the more veteran, more experience wise in Capitals, but they are slower. They are not going to keep up with the Panthers, and that is why I have the Panthers moving on in 5 games to the second round. Moving on to my next Eastern Conference matchup, I do have the New York Rangers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is actually a great matchup, actually. Like, you have two of the best Eastern Conference teams facing each other in this situation. The Rangers obviously are looking to get back to the final for the first time in over a decade. You have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are trying to stay consistent. They're trying to stay back in that playoff picture like they've been for the last decade or so. I do think that this series is actually going to be a very low-scoring series. You have two of the probably the best goaltenders in the NHL right now in Andrei Vasilevsky from the Tampa Bay Lightning and Igor Shesterkin of the New York Rangers. This is going to be a very low-scoring series, but I do see the New York Rangers inching it out against the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games. The reason for that is because, again, I feel like they have more offensive potential with players like Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider. This team is just stacked when it comes to forwards. Their defense is okay. They got Adam Fox, obviously. They have a really solid roster. And I'm not trying to discredit from what Tampa Bay has. They obviously have a really good roster, too. They got Victor Hedman, Braden Point, Jake Getzel, again, Andrei Vasilevsky. This team is stacked as well. But as far as just overall depth, I give the edge to the New York Rangers. This is, again, going to be a test of not only just the goaltenders, but obviously who can just get on the score sheet. This is going to be a very low-scoring, tough series. But I do see the Rangers handing it to the Lightning, and I do believe the Rangers move on in 6 games to the second round. Moving on to my next Eastern Conference matchup, this is actually, again, a rematch from a handful of rematches from years past. You have the Boston Bruins versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is such a bitter rivalry. Like, these teams do not like each other. They don't. And this is going to be a very physical, very, I believe, low-scoring series, and again, like, this series, I believe, can go either way. I do have the series going to the max. I have it going in 7 games. I could see it going either way, really. But, unfortunately, sorry to break your heart, Toronto Maple Leafs fans, I do have the Boston Bruins inched it out barely again, you guys, in 7 games. The reason for that is just because, again, like the Toronto Maple Leafs can't get over the hump. I just don't think they are ready to call themselves Stanley Cup contenders. They are a playoff team, absolutely. But this team, I believe, is just... It's just not there. It's just not there, unfortunately, Maple Leafs fans. I do feel sorry for you guys. You guys are probably one of the most passionate fan bases out there. But I do have to give it to the Bruins because of the overall depth. Yes, obviously, Maple Leafs have Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. This team is stacked. William Nylander is another name that comes to mind with the Maple Leafs, but they just don't have it defensively. The goaltending, I don't think, will hold up. Compared to the Bruins, they have better goaltending. They have Jeremy Swayman. They have a better defensive core with Charlie McAvoy and other defensive players. They also have I believe, a better forward depth. They have Pastrnak, Marchand. This team, I think, is just overall better as far as depth and experience as well. And because of that, I do have the Bruins moving on in 7 games to the second round. Moving on to my last first round Eastern Conference matchup, I do have the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New Jersey Devils. This is going to be a very fast series. You have 2 of the youngest teams in the NHL right now, the Hurricanes and the Devils. This is going to be a very, very fast series. You have, obviously, the star players from the Devils like Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, his brother, Jesper Bratt. You have another good, solid goaltender in Jacob Markstrom. This team is just very, very fast. They're very young. I think they are a very, very good team. You also have, again, the Carolina Hurricanes, who have been very consistent as far as making the playoffs recently. They have players like Necas, Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis. This is going to just be a very, very great series to watch. Again, I think it's going to be back and forth as far as, again, speed versus speed, solid goaltending versus solid defensive team in Carolina. But if I had to give the edge, I will officially give the edge to the New Jersey Devils. The reason for that is because I believe the New Jersey Devils are just going to be faster. They are younger, technically, if you want to really compare the two. But I think they will just overwhelm the Hurricanes defense with their speed, and because of that, is just, I think the Devils finally get over the hump as far as these last few years and finally advance to the second round of the Eastern Conference. I do think Carolina does put up a fight, though. They will win probably 2 games. I could possibly even see it going 7, but in my opinion, I think it will be in 6. The Devils will finish them off in 6 games. The reason for that is because, again, the Devils are just a very fast team. Again, Hurricanes will compete. They will stay like physical. They will stay defensive like they always will be. But it can only carry them so far. And unfortunately, I do believe the Devils will just overwhelm them with their speed and with their scoring. And with that, I do have the Devils moving on in 6 games to the second round of the Eastern Conference. Moving on to the second round of the Eastern Conference, we have the first matchup. This is, again, another rematch actually from last year's, a couple years actually in a row, actually, between the Panthers and the Bruins. This is, again, another bitter rivalry. They don't like each other either. This is going to be, I think, a very physical series. There's going to be a lot of major hits, a lot of major star power in this series too, like Pastrnak, Marchand, like I said, Matthew Tkachuk, Sergei Bobrovsky. This is going to be a very star-studded series again, and Bruins are going to want to get their revenge from the last 2 years. They can't stop this Panthers team for some reason these last 2 years. The Panthers have just owned them, and the Bruins just obviously want to get back to them. But with the Panthers, I think they are going to be on a mission. They want to prove that they can repeat. I think they're going to prove that, again, the Bruins just don't have their number again. And because of that, I do have the Panthers beating the Bruins in 6 games. The reason for that is because comparing the depth of these two teams, I think the Panthers have more depth compared to the Bruins. And I think also Jeremy Swayman, yes, he is a great goaltender. I think he is going to be the next great goaltender to be in the NHL. But for some reason, he just can't figure out the Panthers. He can't make those critical saves against the Panthers. And because of that, I do have the Panthers moving on. And once again, repeating, going back to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, possibly going to repeat. We'll see. But this is a Panthers team that is on a mission. They are one of the best teams in the NHL right now as far as overall depth and overall just chemistry. This team is just crazy right now. And because of that, I do have the Panthers moving on in 6 games to the Eastern Conference Finals. Moving on to the other second round matchup, wow, what a great series. This is actually going to be a great series. This is the New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils. Literally a subway series. This is going to be probably arguably the best series of the playoffs. A very bitter rivalry, a very physical rivalry, and I think it's going to be, again, the best series of the playoffs to watch. I see this one going the distance. I see it going 7 games. It could go either way. You have, obviously, the New York Rangers. I've mentioned the players before of who they have. This is a team that I think is on a mission. They want to obviously prove that last year was just a fluke, that they were this close to the Stanley Cup, but they obviously fell short to the Panthers. You have the up-and-coming Devils, who are just obviously very fast, and they want to prove that they are not only the youngest team in the NHL, but they want to prove that they are the best. They want to prove that they have what it takes to win the Stanley Cup and possibly move on. And again, this is going to be a 7-game series. This is going to be back and forth, fast, physical, possibly low scoring, maybe high scoring, maybe in the middle. We'll see. But officially, I will say it, and I want the Rangers to win the series from my heart. I do. But if I'm going to give my opinion and my official prediction, I believe the New Jersey Devils will pull off the upset. They will pull off the upset against the Rangers and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. The reason for that is because I think, again, this is a very fast Devils team. This is going to be a Devils team that is just going to use their speed to overwhelm the defense of the New York Rangers, and I just don't think the Rangers can ultimately keep up in the end. Yes, Igor Shesterkin will stand on his head. This guy will obviously carry them to 7 games and possibly even advance. Again, I hope they do. But unfortunately, I do see the New Jersey Devils just inching it out over the New York Rangers and advancing in 7 games to the Eastern Conference Finals. And now to my Eastern Conference Finals prediction. This is whoever wins this will obviously go to the Stanley Cup Final. This is going to be a great series. Panthers versus Devils. You obviously have the here and now in the Panthers. You have the up-and-coming Devils. Like, this is going to be, again, a great series. You have two very fast teams, two very overall great depth in the teams. This is going to be a back-and-forth series. I have this one, again, going the distance. I have it going in 7 games. I can see either way. I can see either team going. I can see the Panthers repeating and possibly going back to the Stanley Cup Final. I have the Devils potentially upsetting the Florida Panthers. This is going to be a toss-up. But I do have the New Jersey Devils upsetting the Florida Panthers and moving on to the Stanley Cup Final. The reason for that is because, again, this is a very fast Devils team. I am not trying to discredit, obviously, the Panthers. They're obviously another great fast team. Again, I could see the series going either way. But if I had to pick a winner, it's going to be the New Jersey Devils. I personally think that the Devils will just upset the Panthers. I think Sergei Bobrovsky, yes, will carry them this far, but unfortunately, I just don't think that yes, he won it all last year, but I just don't think that he is going to win it all again this year. He's a great goaltender. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I guarantee that, but I just don't think that he will have enough gas to pull off another series, unfortunately, because, again, they are going to have, a total of six series wins. Well, actually, if you want to combine the last few years, you're going to be looking at 9 series wins up to this point for that man. And again, he can only go so far. So I do believe that this team in the Panthers will just run out of gas and will just be upset by the New Jersey Devils. This Devils team has plenty of gas in them. They have plenty of fight in them. They have a lot of speed, a lot of just physicality as well. And I do think that this New Jersey Devils team makes it to the Stanley Cup Final representing the Eastern Conference. Now we're moving on to the Western Conference. Again, this is actually going to be more of a physical, I think, conference compared to the Eastern Conference. But there is still some star power, some star goaltending in this conference. We will see who we are going to represent. But in my first matchup, I do have the Jets versus the Avalanche. This is actually a rematch from last year's playoffs, and it was a little bit lopsided. The Avalanche did win in 5 games. The reason behind that is because of obviously star players like Mikko Rantanen, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar. They got the star players, obviously. They got the depth. But they also have to face this Jets team who got a lot better in the offseason. Connor Hellebuyck, I believe, is going to stand on his head for this team. And I think it's going to be a reverse. I think the Jets will defeat the Avalanche in 5 games because, again, the Avalanche goaltending is not there, unfortunately. Yes, the Avalanche barely make it to the playoffs, but I just don't think they have enough defensive depth and overall goaltending to beat and upset the Jets again. But I do have the Jets upsetting them in 5 games. I think that this is the time for the Jets. The Jets to win now for them is right now, is because of Connor Hellebuck, Kyle Connor. They have Mark Scheifele. Like, this team is just stacked as far as overall forward depth and defensive depth. They got Josh Morrissey, obviously. This is a team I think that is in a win now mode. They want to bring one back for Canada. And yes, they do advance to the second round of the Western Conference, upsetting the Avalanche in 5 games. Moving on to my next Western Conference matchup, I do have the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Edmonton Oilers. This is a rematch from a couple years ago from the playoffs. Again, this is another bitter rivalry. It's going to be very physical. I think this is going to be a very lopsided series, unfortunately. If you did see my last video, prepare. I'm going to bash again. Stuart Skinner, you are not it, my guy. Yes, again, I get it. You get your team back to the playoffs this year, and you obviously went far in the playoffs last year. You're a quote-unquote average goaltender. Yes, you can get it there, but unfortunately, I don't see you guys advancing against the Golden Knights. I think the Golden Knights are just a better overall team, both goaltending, defensive, and forward-wise. Yes, the Oilers have McDavid. Yes, they have Draisaitl. Yes, they have the offense as well, but comparing the overall depth between these two teams, it's lopsided. Like, you have the Golden Knights. I believe they're the way better team. The Oilers, I don't see it. I don't see it. I could potentially see this series being in a sweep, but I'm kind. I'll give the Oilers a game, but I will go no further beyond. This team is just not it anymore. Yes, they had a great run last year, but I don't see them having a run this year. I do have the Vegas Golden Knights defeating the Oilers in 5 games because of the overall depth, and yes, because of goaltending. Sorry again, Stuart Skinner. Sorry again, Oilers fans. It's just not happening. And I'm not trying to bash on you guys as far as from a Kings point of view. Yeah, I'm a Kings fan. I get it. Like, obviously, I'm bashing on you guys because I don't like you guys potentially, but at the same time, it's just fact. It's just truth. You guys just don't have the goaltending. That's just my opinion. Okay? And if I weren't a Kings fan, it would still be the same opinion, in my opinion. So, sorry, not sorry. Moving on to my next Western Conference matchup, I do have my boys, the Los Angeles Kings versus the Vancouver Canucks. This is actually another somewhat little bit of a rivalry. They had actually a pretty big rivalry back in the mid to early 2010s. Kings owned them actually in the 2010s as far as just overall matchup. But this is actually a great series, I think. This is going to be a very back and forth series as far as overall physicality. I think it's going to be a very low scoring series because we have both teams who are very good as far as defense, goaltending, forwards. Yes, they have some great forwards. For the Canucks, you got Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Brock Besser, obviously. With the Kings, you got Kopitar, Kempe, Fiala, Deneau. Both teams are great as far as overall depth. But if I have to give the edge, a lot of people are going to be upset about this, but I do have finally, I have the Los Angeles Kings upsetting the Vancouver Canucks in 6 games. They finally get past the first round. The reason for that is because, again, I think with the recent offseason that the Kings had, they added some grit, they added some toughness, they added some physicality, and I think that this team is just ready to finally get past the first round. I think the Canucks, yes, they are a great team. Yes, they have another great, solid goaltender in Thatcher Demko. But this team, I just don't think I don't think they're gonna have that run anytime soon. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that. Again, this is definitely a for sure playoff team. I think the luck is finally gonna tip towards the Kings' way. I think we finally get past the first round, and yes. Finally, in 6 games, I have the Kings advancing over the Canucks to make it to the second round of the Western Conference. Moving on to my final first round Western Conference matchup, I do have the Dallas Stars versus the Minnesota Wild. This is going to be another great series. This is one that I think is going to be a little high scoring, maybe a little bit in the middle, but I still think the goaltenders are going to have their moments. Philip Gustafsson from the Minnesota Wild is going to be solid in the series. The Dallas Stars obviously have Jake Gallagher. He's going to be solid in this series. This is going to be a very great series. I have this one going the distance. I have it going in 7 games. It's going to be very back and forth. But if I have to pick a winner, I will pick the Dallas Stars. The reason for that is because I just think they have better overall depth, both forward and defensively. Yes, the Wild are being carried right now by Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Zuccarello, Matt Boldy. Like, this team, yes, is good. Kirill Kaprizov, in my opinion, will win MVP this year. He's just going crazy right now, but he can only carry them so far. With the Stars team, I think they are just better overall depth, and I think they just have those key pieces like Jason Robertson, Mason Marchment, this Logan Stankoven is another name to stick out, but I think this is just a better overall forward and defensive depth team. And again, barely, I do have the Stars upsetting the Wild in 7 games. Moving on to the semifinals, the second round of the Western Conference. My first matchup, I have the Jets versus the Stars. This is going to be a very physical series. This is going to be very back and forth. I don't see it going the distance, though. I do see it ending in 6 games, actually. But I think, again, Connor Hellebuyck, I think, is going to stand on his head once again. And I have the Jets upsetting Stars in 6 games. The reason for that is because, again, Connor Hellebuyck is going to stand on his head. I think, again, the depth of these two teams are actually almost identical, actually. They're both pretty much identical as far as when it comes to overall depth. But comparing the goaltenders, yes, I do like Jake Onger in the Dallas Stars, but I do believe Connor Hellebuyck is just the goaltender right now. He is just standing on his head for this team. He's going to carry this team far, and I do have the Winnipeg Jets moving on to the Western Conference Finals in 6 games. Moving on to my other second round matchup, I have the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Los Angeles Kings. I really want to pick the Kings, man. Yes, this is a bit of rivalry. Yes, it's going to be a very physical series, but if I had to go with my honest opinion, if I have to go with my heart, I would love to pick the Kings. Don't get me wrong. I really want them to advance, obviously. But if I'm a realist and if I'm going to be real to you guys, I will. And I do have the Vegas Golden Knights beating the Los Angeles Kings in 6 games. The reason for that is because both goaltenders for this team, for both these teams, are actually very identical. Darcy Kemper is solid. Aiden Hill is solid, but when it comes to the overall depth, I will give the edge to the Vegas Golden Knights, both as far as defensive and forward and offense. Like, this team is just stacked. Like, obviously, they have players like Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Ivan Barbashev. Defense, they have Noah Hannafin, Shea Theodore. Like, this team is just overall better as far as depth. Yes, the Kings put up a fight. Yes, I see them win a couple of games, but I do have the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't want to say it. I do have the Vegas Golden Knights defeating the Los Angeles Kings in 6 games. Forgive me for that. But moving on, we are going to move on to the Western Conference Finals. We have the Winnipeg Jets versus the Vegas Golden Knights. This is actually a rematch from a handful of years ago, back in 2018, when Vegas was first introduced into the NHL. This is actually going to be a great matchup. You obviously have the depth overall of the Vegas Golden Knights versus a great depth of team in the Jets, and great goaltending in the Jets in Connor Hellebuyck. This is going to be a very physical series as well. Very low-scoring series, in my opinion, as well. But if I have to pick a winner, I will pick, surprisingly, the Winnipeg Jets. The reason for that is because, again, Connor Hellebuyck, I think, is just on a mission this year. He really wants to prove that he is the best goaltender, not only in the NHL, but in the world, obviously. He wants to carry this team to a cup, and potentially he will. But I do have the Winnipeg Jets moving on in 6 games against the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, the Vegas Golden Knights will put up a fight. They will bring it to 6 games, but the Jets, I think, will finish them off. Vegas maybe could win the series. I wouldn't be surprised, but I just don't see Aiden Hill carrying them to the cup final again. He did so back in 2023, obviously, but I do see the Winnipeg Jets upsetting the Vegas Golden Knights and moving on to the Stanley Cup final. We're finally there, YouTube. Finally, we have my Stanley Cup final prediction. I have the Winnipeg Jets versus the New Jersey Devils. wow, this is going to be a great series, obviously. You have the great depth and goaltending in the Winnipeg Jets versus the very fast team, up-and-coming team in the New Jersey Devils. This is going to be a very fast series, very physical series. I believe a very low-scoring series as well, because Jacob Markstrom, I will give my hat to him. He's really good for the New Jersey Devils. They obviously upgraded with him in goaltending, and this team, I think, is just obviously a great team. You also, again, and I'm not putting aside the Winnipeg Jets, obviously. This is going to be a great Winnipeg Jets team this year. And this is going to be, I think, a very good Stanley Cup final if we get it. I hope we get it because, again, this is going to be a very, very good series. But I do have it going the distance. I have it going in 7 games. I could see it going either way. I could see Canada finally getting a Stanley Cup in over 30 plus years. Or I could see the Devils bring one back to the USA. But if I had to pick a winner, again, it's going to be the distance. It's going to be in 7 games. I have the, drumroll please, New Jersey Devils winning the Stanley Cup. The reason for this is because I just think the speed of the Devils is just going to be very, very instrumental in this series. They're going to have enough gas in the tank to just overwhelm the Jets defense and score on Connor Hellebuyck. Yes, Connor Hellebuyck is going to drag them all the way to a Game 7. Yes, Jets potentially could win this series. I wouldn't be surprised either, but Connor Hellebuyck can only carry them so far. He does fall short one game, unfortunately. One game. But I do have the New Jersey Devils finally lifting the Stanley Cup for the first time in 20 plus years. But I do have the Conn Smythe Trophy going to Connor Hellebuyck. I gotta give credit where credit is due. This man is just unbelievable. He will carry this team, obviously. He has so far in this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he does in the playoffs. I do see him being named the playoffs MVP for this team, even though he was on the losing side. But he will be the reason why the Jets could go to the Stanley Cup and potentially win the Stanley Cup. But I don't see it happening in my opinion. I do see the New Jersey Devils winning the Stanley Cup in 7 games. Whew, oh my gosh, that was wow. That was a lot. But we're finally there. We're at the end of the series. I appreciate you guys tuning in so much. It means the world to me for you guys just tune into the series. Obviously, I'm going to be producing more videos, obviously. Don't worry about that. We're going to be doing some more videos on jersey concepts, logos, breaking news and stuff like that, like trades potentially and stuff like that, firings and stuff like that. But I appreciate all the love and support, guys. My latest video hit a new high as far as views. I really do appreciate that. But a lot of you guys are not subscribed either as far as views and likes. So please, if you can, like and subscribe, please. It would mean the world to me. I would greatly appreciate it. I will try to keep posting as much as I can, but with the holidays being around, it may slow down a little bit. But I will keep you guys up to date of when I will take a break, because that break will come because I want to take this time soon with my family and friends for the holidays. Hope you guys have a great holiday season. It is the most wonderful time of the year, and I just hope that you guys have a great season with your friends and family. And thank you so much for watching again. Like and subscribe. And as always, guys, let's go!